Okay, Be'ezrat Hashem, we continue. We are Pasuk Yudalet Pasuk Gimel. Befi Evil Hoter Ga'ava. In the mouth of the fool is a rod of Ga'ava. Besiftei Hachamim Tishmorem. And the lips of the Chachamim protect them. So says the Gaon, that something very interesting. He says the Evil, the fool. Why is he a fool? Because he feels he's overly confident, but a confidence that imposes his opinion and his presence on others. And that gives him the reassurance, the chutzpah, to talk down and impose his ways through his tongue, and uses his tongue as a rod, as a stick to hit. All this so that his ways be respected and followed. So the Evil, the fool, listen to this, uses his mouth as a rod to impose his way on others, to hurt, to break people's emotions, belittle.
Why call it a fool? Could be manipulator, but not a fool.
Very
Maybe
good.
he's not a fool.
Very good. So if very good. So the Gaon addresses this, and he says that the Evil is brought also in Perikud Pasuk Yud Dalet. We saw it.
Can you remind us the difference between Evil and Ksil again?
Between
Please.
Evil and
Ksil.
and Ksil. Yes. So the Evil is the one that has the knowledge, okay, and the shrewdness to manipulate and fool. The Ksil is tipesh. Okay.
Got
So
it. Yes.
The Evil is like it's an extension, is a tipesh plus, right? It's a petty plus. So it's someone that has the shrewdness, but he has a carelessness of a tipesh, of a pity. So the way to affirm himself is by belittling others and hurting others, and the only way he can do that is through his mouth. So he uses his tongue as a rod, as a stick. The siftei chachamim tishmorem, but the lips of the chachamim protects them. Pay attention here, he doesn't talk about the peh, about the mouth. Here he talks about the sifatayim, about the lips. The lips have also for purpose to close the mouth. So says the Gaon, the Chachamim, you know how they get away and they protect themselves from this type of people by keeping their mouth shut and by not answering. So you don't fuel, the problem, and you don't add oil to the fire, because the evil wants to engage and wants you to respond, because you give him now the ammunition and the opportunity to talk down and break you. But if you don't answer, then you're the chacham, because you protect yourself from their attack. And if they keep on talking one time, two times, and there's no response, so they understand that there's nobody to fight with. Yes, if you throw a ball and there's a wall, the ball come back. But if you throw a ball and there's the ball never comes back. So says the Gaon, the Chacham is the one that knows how to keep his lips closed, not to engage in a and give the opportunity to the evil to unleash. Pasuk Dalet. Be'en alafim, when there is no ox, evus bar, the utensil where you put the straw for the animal to eat and that keeps him going, is empty. Verav tevuot bekoach shor, but with the power of the ox, rav tevuot, you make a lot of produce, a lot of crops. You produce a lot. Here it's interesting to raise that there's a difference in the terminology, in the explication, the definition of the terminologies. According to the Gaon, the word alafim and the word ox and the word shor are the same. Are talking about the same animal and the same type, the same behavior of the animal. And he will explain why he says here alafim and at the end shor. According to the Malbim, the alafim are is the ox, the bull that has been trained already and knows how to do the work without being swayed with food and tricked. It's a bull that's been doing the job of charisha to help plow the land. He knows exactly what to do. Yes, so you don't need to incentivize the alaf. However, the show is the animal that needs to be incentivized, that doesn't know the work yet, and that needs to be pushed and stimulated with food in front of it so that it can move. So, now back to the Gaon. If you don't have, says the Gaon, Shlomo says, if you don't have alafim, if you don't have hardworking oxes, then your recipient will always be empty. Avuzba is, it's rek, it's empty. Empty of what? Empty of straw, of produce. However, bekoach hashor, if you have the work power, yes, of the ox, then you produce a lot, and you can eat, and you can feed the animals, and with that you have power to work even more. So essentially, if you don't have horsepower, you're left empty. But if you do have the horsepower, that's what it takes to to produce outcome, benefit from them, and then can keep on working and developing. So now the Gaon has a few explanations. He says the word aluf can also mean learning. The word aleph can mean to teach. Alufati, my master, my teacher. So he says like this. The en alafim, he says, when you don't have alafim, alafim, it means when you don't have students, when you don't have talmidim. And we're talking about the Talmid Chacham. If the Talmid Chacham doesn't have students to learn with, he is considered empty. Why? Chachamim tells us, right? We learn more from the student than from anybody else. So himself, at the end, if he doesn't have who to teach and he doesn't have who to argue with, even if he has Torah, he feels a void, he feels empty. However, the koach shor, if you have the power of the ox, meaning if you have the power of the students, of the alafim, then you learn more, then you're challenged, then you're pushed, yes, to refine the svarot and to refine your limud. Then rov tevuot, then there's a big outcome. But the koach shor, says the Gaon, he's not stam a student. He's a student, talmid hagun, a student that understands you and that knows that chaps, and that knows how to come back and to build on what your teachings. And he says that's what Chachamim say, that you have to carry the all, yes, the burden of the Torah like a shor, and carry the weight of the Torah like a hamor. So we carry the load, the weight, the burden like an ox, and carry the weight like a donkey. So the Gaon says there are three explanations to that Ma'amar Chazal, which are essentially the foundation of the pasuk that from Shlomo HaMelech. In Avodat Hashem, Chachamim tell us you have to be on one, and when you carry the Torah, you have to have the strength of the bull, okay, and the carrying ability of the donkey. He says when you're mahzik, he says this applies in one hidush as haymi la mahzikim ba. When you support Torah, you have to support Torah in two ways, says the Gaon. You have to support the Torah baguf, with your body, and you have to support Torah b'mamon, with money. How? How do you do that? Hamor lemasa, to carry the weight like a donkey. That's physical. Are you machzik Torah physically? That you give your time and your body to the help of the Talmid Chacham, and you physically help the Talmid Chacham b'chol hakoach. Just like the donkey can carry physically, yes. Also, we need to be dedicated physically to the Talmid Chacham. That's hamor lemasa. That's physically. And what is keshor le'ol, and carry the load, yes, the burden like an ox. He says that's the ol parnasa of the Talmid Chacham. To make sure that just like the ox produces, yes, and grinds the floor and makes, and plows the ground, and pushes and pushes and pushes. So too, we have an obligation to make sure that the Talmid Chacham gets financially what he needs. And these are the obligation of Mahzikei Torah. I mean, it's not enough just to give a check, and it's not enough just to be physically involved. We need to create that balance and that commitment on both levels. That's one pirush of that pasuk. The other is ben adam le'atzmo. That's ben adam la'chavero. Ben adam le'atzmo kechamor lemasa, to carry the weight like a donkey, is to make sure that you carry the responsibility of mitzvot. Without, just like the donkey doesn't ask questions and just do what he is told, we too have to carry the weight of the mitzvot and do them without any questions. Keshor le'ol, and what is the burden of the ox? The Amal Torah, the actual learning of the Torah. So too, we need to behave in a way where we have resilience in accomplishing the mitzvot and resilience in learning our Torah. That's the second hidush, the second pirush. The third hidush, and the third pirush on that ma'amar of Chachamim, is ben adam kape HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we spoke, yes, ben adam lachavero, yes, ben adam le'atzmo in terms of his mitzvot and his Torah, and then is between ben adam lekono, between the man and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How is that? How do we connect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Through our limud Torah. Learning Torah has two levels to it. Understanding the pshat, what is being said, and then analyzing what has been said. So we have also an obligation to learn what is said, what is written. It's like the donkey. Yes, I need to know what's written. Forget about your thoughts. Forget makatu. What is the Gemara saying? I need to know what is written, just like a donkey, without any questions. And then I have to carry the load of the burden like a shore. The shore has the ox has the long horns, and with horns you hit, right? You gore, not gore. Whatever. Yeah, you go for like those ox in Spain. Yes, they try to. So the same thing. And that's the iyun, that's the pilpul. That's going and putting it and hitting again and fighting until you get to the emet. Says the Gaon, and this is what the Gemara in Masechet Barachot says, that if someone dreams of a bull and the bull is attacking, it means he's going to have a son that's going to be a Talmid Chacham. That they're gonna hit like with the chaverim to know to be mepalpelim b'Torah. So lemaase, to learn Torah, you need to learn the pshat. You have to do chazara on the pshat, but you have to be also able to use your chokhmah and your dat to do pilpul. So the rov tvuah, the pilpul, can only come with the talmidim, right? Like we said. So the more talmidim and the more talmidim that understand you, that you can fight with, you have, and the more you enrich and fill up yourself with more Torah and more Chokhmah. So comes now the Gaon and said, well, so why did Shlomo HaMelech made the difference between Alafim and Shor? Like we said earlier. He says Alafim, to the contrary of the Malbim, he says Alafim, they eat and they don't produce anything. So they're like lazy animals. But the shor is the one that actually does the work, that you know, the labor, that takes care of that really pushes. Says the Gaon, the aluf, you need to incentivize him. If not, it relaxes and it eats. So yes, if you incentivize, you're gonna have something. But even if the aluf you don't have, even if that drive you don't have, then there's nothing to incentivize. So if you don't have the drive, then there's zero. You're not going to produce anything. There's only going to be emptiness. But in the contrary, if you are a shor, if you have the motivation and you go, yeah, you're an engine, you're a machine, and the machine only stops to rest just to start again. That's the shor. The shor only wants to produce, but what can he do? He has to rest. Versus the other mindset of, I want to rest, but what can I do? I need to eat, so let me work. This is the difference between the alafim and the shvarim. So one is close to emptiness and zero production, versus the other one keeps on producing and producing and producing. But mala asot, he has to rest. So too the Talmid Chacham. As long as he wants to teach and he has Talmidim, yes, so he's filling up himself. But if he wants his quiet and aval mala asot, I also have to teach, then his emptiness will only keep on growing. This mindset is the Hidush of Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech is telling us, be careful to always be on the proactive and dominant side and not the other way around, because the outcome of your effort depends on that mindset. Clear? Good. Pasuk He. Any question on that? By the way, which is also very important in the chinuch of our children, yes, to install that mindset. Today, kids all they want to do is they want to rest, right? But what can you do? You have to go to school. But when you do, I have to help. But the de facto is let me enjoy my life. Let me rest. This is the ingredient to failure, and it is important and our responsibility to break that, and to educate our kids to be proactive and all out go-getters. But at the end they're tired, so they have to rest and they have to eat. When they're having fun, yes, and they're on vacation, suddenly they have the power to do anything, and you have to stop them to eat lunch, and you have to stop them to eat dinner. But if you let them, they're not going to eat dinner and suddenly vacation, they wake up at 6 a.m. They wake up very early and they're very engaged. But when school time comes, you have to wake them up, and they take time to eat their breakfast and they want to go. So we see that instinctively we have those two sides of us. The question is, which one will we emphasize as a parent and push forward and reinforce versus the other? Because if you let the nature take its course, for sure, it's according to the Pirush of the Gra, is the Aluf that's going to take over. The shore that eats and doesn't produce. Pasuk He. עד אמונים לא יכזב. A witness, a trustworthy witness, will never disappoint. The afiach kezavim, the one that keeps on disappointing, Ed Shaker, is a witness, will witness lies, about lies. Kazav, the definition of kazav is to disappoint, to let down. It's to say, I'm going to do something and you don't do it. Now, there's a difference between kazav and sheker. Kazav is somebody that when he says he wants to do something, he really wants to do it. But at the end, for whatever reason, he's not doing it. Versus the shakran. The shakran, from the beginning, he knows he's not going to do it. He just says yes. I'm going to do. He does nothing. So says Shlomo HaMelech, Ed emunim lo yechazev. You want to know if somebody's trustworthy and will say the emet, and it's somebody that you can rely on, if the person does not disappoint you. If when a person says he's going to do something, he does it. Because says the Gaon, the fact when a person commits to do something, he understands that his commitment now implies somebody else. So now the responsibility of the other person becomes his responsibility. So even though it might be complicated for him to do something, but now he's carrying the responsibility of the other person. So that becomes his motive, and that will push him to do and fulfill his commitment. When a person lives by this value, edemunim, he is a witness of truth. This is a person that you can trust, that you can believe, and that you can rely on. But the one that keeps on telling, I will do, I don't do, I will do, I don't do, and doesn't, he basically does not care about the other person, right? He just says something, knowing that he's not going to do it anyways, and the disappointment of the other person is meaningless to him. Lebasov, at the end, that careless person, that insensitive person, will lie in as a ed. That lack of sensitivity for the other, and that lack of responsibility of himself, shows that the person has no value of emet, no value of responsibility, of commitment. So that person will have no problem lying in front of his stand as a ed. It says Shlomo Melech, says the Gaon, this is the kavanah we have when we say Kriyat Shema. If you look at the pasuk Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, the ayin of the word Shema is big, and the dalet of the word Echad is also big. Ayin dalet is the word Ed, witness. So when we say Kriyat Shema, we witness and testify that Akadosh Baruch Hu is one. And when we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu, how is Hashem our God? Because he is the one who told us, Anochi Hashem Elokecha and lo yeh lecha Elohim acherim. So when we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, how is he Hashem Elokeinu? Because he's the one who told us, Anochi Hashem Elokecha lo yeh lecha Elohim acherim in Matan Torah. This Hashem Echad, he is one. And I am me'id, I am a witness that he is one. This is the ayin of the Shema and the dalet of Echad. And the Anochi Hashem Elokecha is the root of all mitzvot aseh. Lo yelecha Elokim, you shall not have another God. That is the root of the lo ta'aseh. So we testify and we witness that the mitzvot aseh and lo ta'aseh are emet and come from Matan Torah, and we receive them from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the kavanah we need to have, the simple kavanah that we need to have when we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. If we look and dive into how many mitzvot we find inside the Kriyat Shema, there are 13. And some sidurim highlight them, the different mitzvot. There's 13 mitzvot. The Zohar brings it in Parashat Teruma. Oto davar, we testify, yes, that we will be mekayim those mitzvot. That's Ed Emunim. That's Ed Emunim. That you say that you're going to do it in the morning, and you're actually doing during the day. When you say Shema in the morning, you testify as an Ed that you will accomplish the Torah. If you don't, then you yafiach kezavim. Then you say, I'm going to do, and you don't do nothing. This is why the Chachamim say that whoever says Kriyat Shema and didn't put tefillin, me'id edut sheker. He's testifying that he's a lie. Why? Because how can you say Kshatem leot al yadecha utafot ben enecha, you don't have it? You're a liar. Now we're not talking about the ones that he has a mitzvah of Kriyat Shema. We're not talking about that. So the difference between the two, says the Gaon, is that one, his machshava, his thought, is to make sure that whatever I commit to, I do. This is the motive. I say I'm going to do it, I will do it. However, Yafiach Kezavim, the one that is full of disappointment, doesn't even think about the commitment. this person is a liar. Any question on that pasuk?
But so each time we think about something to do and we don't do it, we are lying.
There's a difference between thinking. That's why we say beli neder. When we say beli neder, because we understand that there are circumstances, yes. But when we tell someone, look, I want to do this. Once you commit, leolam hand, love, your yes should be a yes, and your no should be a no. Sometimes there's own theme. There's sometimes you cannot do, but sometimes circumstances change, and you try your best, but it doesn't come out. Yes, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about again the outlook. Yes, there's one that when he says he does, and there's one that just haki balash, right? He just talk in vain. And you can identify who is a shakran and who is a dover emet based on that. Is that guy always saying, I will, doesn't do nothing? Or when he says he does, he does? That is a compass that can guide you, determine if the person is trustworthy or he's a liar. Okay? Tov. Ezrat Hashem. So we learned Pasuk Dalet and Pasuk He.